I'm happy to have Kendra, one of our 3X Slide group instructors, with me today to help us demonstrate the next few exercises. The first exercise we're going to show you today is the side lunge with sword pull. Kendra, can you take your left shoe cover off for me? Thank you. And Kendra's going to use a 5-pound dumbbell today. These exercises can be done with weights or without. So Kendra, you are going to start by sliding and doing this lateral lunge to your 1, 3, and your 5 o'clock blocks. We can start, great. And Kendra's going to reach across her body and then pull that arm up. So left arm comes across and then up. Excellent. As you can see, she's loading into this right hip here. She's hitting that block really squarely. With that right foot, she's reaching across her body and then pulling that weight up and across and bringing it up high to that left-hand side. There's some common things that you will see with this side lunge sword pull that make this exercise a little less effective. So Kendra, can you show us when you slide to this 3 o'clock block and really kind of get low and cheat with your elbow and maybe use that? Good. So when we see this, we don't like this positioning here. Kendra's using too much weight on her leg here to help support herself, and her chest is dipping a little too low. So Kendra, stand up a little bit. Good. Take that arm away. Really lunge into that hip. Excellent. And chest up, shoulders up. Great. And now slide out and pull. Great. That's how to correct that. Now, can you slide to that 1 o'clock block and not quite hit that block squarely? So when this happens, if you don't hit that block squarely, we're going to have weight shift out here. What we want to look for is this foot solidly against that block, which is going to require a little more rotation of this hip. We're looking for a little bit of increased motion here, and again, loading into this right glute. Good job, and now pull, and excellent. Let's talk about the sword pull motion. One of the modifications that you can do for this, I like that Kendra is able to reach across, but if it's not comfortable for somebody to pull that weight way up, Kendra, can you just kind of pull to your chest there or shoulder height? Excellent. So good, reach across your body and then pull back. Perfect. So this is one way to modify this exercise. The other way that we modify this exercise is by self-selecting the distance that Kendra's lunging. So if she comes a little closer to this block, great, now lunge in. It becomes an easier exercise. Good, lunge in and slide back out. Good, lunge in and slide back out. Great, and now can you move yourself a little bit further away to show how the lunge gets a little bit bigger? Great. And really slide in and really push hard to slide back out. So this exercise is modified by the distance you go, the speed, the weight, and the amount that you're lifting that arm out of that exercise with the sword. The next exercise is a duck pull. You've seen this exercise before, but I'm going to have Kendra turn and face this way so that you can see it from the side. She's going to now be facing her 12 o'clock block. She's going to get down in her push-up position with her feet on 5 and 7. Great job, Kendra. So you can see that she's in this nice straight push-up position. We're going to let her hips drop a little bit, so she's going to get a lot of stretch in the front of those hips. Great. And now, Kendra, you're going to pull those legs up underneath you. Excellent. And then back out and drop those hips. Great. So here's a duck pull. Good. Excellent. As we've discussed before, this hip dip is really important so that she's not getting pressure in her low back, but she's really getting lengthening in the front of her hips. She's able to drop those hips and come back up and slide up. Excellent. And the modification for this exercise, Kendra, is just to keep your feet on those blocks. Good. And bring that butt up and bring that butt a little lower. Again, good. Up and then down. Getting that lengthening in the front of those hips every time. Great job. Forward lunge to 11, 12, and 1 with a reach. So Kendra has her right shoe cover off this time, so she's going to lunge with this left leg. She's going to start by lunging across her body to that 1 o'clock block and reaching her hands down nice and low towards that block. Go ahead, Kendra. Slide in. Good. Forward bend and slide out. Good. Slide to 12. Reach towards that foot and slide out. Excellent. And to 11. Reach towards that foot and slide out. Great. There are some things that Kendra is doing really well here. She's self-selected a distance for her that works. So to make this exercise appropriate for you, you're going to make your right foot stationary on the board. She's keeping her right foot pointed towards that 12 o'clock block, and she's sliding in and out of these 11, 12, and 1 o'clock blocks, giving herself a little bit of a different angle and a different bit of muscular strengthening going on here. She's keeping her back nice and straight. So Kendra, show me, just go to that 12 o'clock block and kind of round out your back and bend. So this is not what we're looking for. We want you to keep this back nice and straight so you're really loading up that forward hamstring. Excellent. And because she's sliding in and out the entire time, she's getting constant muscular engagement, both on the slide forward and then that pull back. Great job, Kendra.
Are you ready?
Plank reach to 11 and run. Kendra, can you get down in that push-up position, please, with your feet on your 6 o'clock block? Great, she's going to move her hands to the appropriate position for her length, for her body type, so that her hands are right underneath her shoulders. Kendra, I'm going to have you start with that left leg coming up towards your 11 o'clock block. Exactly. So this positioning is great. She's able to get this hip dip on the right side. She's getting a stretch of the glutes and hamstrings on the left. Her core is working, and now Kendra, switch. Great, same thing on the right side. Now she's getting a lengthening in the front of that hip. Good, now Kendra, why don't you just pick up the pace a little bit, keeping that foot really secure on that 6 o'clock block. Excellent. Great job. And now can you pause for a moment, and I'm just gonna have you turn to the side so everybody can see that hip lengthening that you're getting here. So again, facing her 12 o'clock block, reaching to that 12 and 1, and see the nice extension that Kendra can get in that left hip as she's reaching forward. That's great. And switch sides. Great job. All right, go ahead and give us a couple at the speed that you would normally do this. Great job. Okay, so one of the modifications would be for this, Kendra, if you just pause for a second, I'm going to move in this block for you. So we can make the reach a little bit shorter by moving in her 11 and 1 blocks. Great, so now her reach just becomes a little bit smaller. And then you can see that her speed has just slowed down. So this is the modification for this, where she's still getting a good amount of reach, a good amount of hip dip, a good amount of lengthening in this side, but it's not quite as fast and the distance isn't quite as far. Great job, Kendra, thank you. This exercise is the slide with a plie squat. So Kendra is going to slide from this 3 to 9 block. She's going to get a nice opening up. Go ahead, Kendra, why don't you slide this way? Good, she's going to open up with that, and then she's going to drop those hips. Great motion. You can do this with or without weights. Good, slide. Open up, good, bring feet back together, slide across, open up with that right leg, hip drop, excellent, slide, open up, drop, great job. Okay, so things that we look for. One of the things that we look for that we don't want to see is, can you just do a bend over from the waist? Good. I don't want to see your shoulders dropping low without your hips dropping, so this exercise, good. Now stand up and drop those hips. We're trying to get motion here, we're trying to get stability, we're trying to get strengthening of those adductors, inner thighs. Good job. And that takes some work just to stay in that position. Good, because of the slippery surface, there's a lot of control and balance incorporated here. Kendra, you're doing a great job. We can modify this, of course, by moving the blocks in to make the space a little smaller, and we can also have Kendra drop her weights. Great job. Forward lunge with arm overhead reach. Kendra, this exercise you're going to do another set of lunges where you're going to lunge to that 1, 12, and 11 o'clock block. This time when you're lunging, now your arms are going to go overhead. So start with that 1 o'clock, exactly. Arms up and then slide back out of it. Great, now to your 12. Great job, and slide out and across your body to that 11. Great, so Kendra's trying to keep her hips pretty squared up on each of these lunges. She's getting a lot of motion in the front of this hip. She's engaging her core because her arms are coming up overhead here. Great job. She's keeping this back knee as straight as she can. She's sliding in and sliding out, so she's getting that concentric and eccentric lengthening of those muscles, and she's working the whole time. She's sliding. Great job. This is going to incorporate core and balance, lower body muscles. Great job, Kendra. She can add weights if she wants to make this a little harder. I'm going to have her turn. Can you turn yourself this way? And this becomes your 12 o'clock block now. And just show it from this angle so we can show everybody the amount of lengthening that you're getting in your hips here. Great job. So see all this length in the hip? She's really loading into this front quad. Good. Slide out. Slide in. Slide out. And slide in. And she's doing a really great job keeping this foot squared up to that 12 o'clock block so that she's really coming across her body. She's going straight on. And on this 1 o'clock slide, she's really opening up that hip a little bit and getting more of her adductors on that left side. Great job, Kendra. Slow pike ups. Kendra, I'm going to have you turn and make this your 12 o'clock block right now. We're going to start back in your push-up position, feet on 6. Great job. Excellent positioning here again with her hands right under her shoulders and the ability to lengthen the front of her hips. So this exercise, we're really focused on the lengthening of your core and getting those muscles engaged. So now you're going to do a slow pike up. Good. Lots of control, and then slow back down with a lot of control in that core on the way down. So pulling up, pulling down, dropping those hips, nice amount of hip dip, core lengthening, control, slow. It's that whole idea of lengthen to strengthen. Kendra's muscles in her core are constantly engaged right now. She is never getting a rest. That's working on the way up and working on the way down. Great job, Kendra. This exercise is the half kneel with an overhead reach. Kendra's going to start by kneeling on this pad here, and she's going to use her left leg to aim for that 11, 12, and 1 o'clock block. So Kendra, go ahead and slide out to that 11. Great, and arms come up overhead. And 12, and arms up. And 1 across her body, and arms up overhead. She's doing a great job right now, really keeping her hips squared up, so that as she goes to that 11 o'clock, she gets a little bit of hip opening. She gets a ton of stretch in her hip flexors and her adductors here. Her arms coming up overhead really forces core engagement. And the whole idea of this eccentric contraction, this ability of her muscles to be lengthening and still loading and still working. This is a great exercise for strengthening the front and her core here. Great job, Kendra. Okay, what we're going to show next is if you weren't keeping your hips squared up. So if you went to that 11 o'clock block, good, and you weren't able to square up your hips, then you're basically getting that same forward lunge like you were going to your 12 o'clock block. We want to make sure that this is a little bit of a different exercise every time. So what we're going to do is square you up, really force your hips to stay squared up here, and now you can slide out to that 11. And what happens here is that she's getting a lot more in her right adductor. She's getting a ton in the front here. She's getting a lot of core engagement. And the way, again, that we would modify this exercise is, Kendra, just drop your weights here for a second. Good. Same thing. You can go arms up overhead with no weights. And we can also shorten the distance. So let's just move your knee in just a touch. Great job. So for somebody with a little less balance, a little less flexibility, somebody who needs a little more work on motion in their hips, you just shorten this distance up. Good job. Give them no weights to go overhead. Nice work.